All right, this is Mike Ortiz and my dad, Erny Rangel. Otis used to take lessons from my dad when he was a young boy, and then maybe you can share too, Dad, what you remember about him and his dad.
10 years old?
Yeah, I'm about 10. I was about 10.
Because you always say nice things about him and his dad.
What I remember Ernie teaching me was to use all four of my fingers, and especially using the pinky. And he showed me why the pinky was important. To this day, people say, oh, you play that chord weird. Why do you play with that pinky? I'm like, cause, and then I'll strum like a C, and then, I'll say, you play it your way, and they play it, and then that bottom E string goes, bing, it dies out, and I say, now here, and I'll play, and then you can hear that E string. I said, that's why. That's the way I was taught, and I can't, that's the only way I know how. The other thing I think I remember, Ernie taught me how to play Sunshine on Your Love.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. And, I never knew that.
I played that all the time.
Still one of my favorites.
And then he had a book that your grandpa had. I mean, the pages were yellowed. And
even back then?
Yeah, and Ernie taught me harmonics. And he'd bing, bing, hit the harmonics everywhere on the neck.
Wow.
And I remember being fascinated with the harmonics. And I kept asking him, how do you do that? And so I went home and practiced, and harmonics, you had to get it just right to get the harmonic. And I go up and down, man, and I come back there and he showed me how to do it. So, but that's, and I certainly appreciate,
Yeah. Dad, what do you remember about Otis when he came over? How old was he and all that?
He was probably about 10 years old. His dad initially talked to me and asked me, hey, would you mind giving my son, some lessons? I said, well, no, not really, because we had a nice clean bake, so there was nothing down there and everything. So he started coming down, and he started off from the beginning. He didn't know jack, couldn't do. His hands were only his fingers were about that long. He had a guitar with strings that high
off the neck.
Yeah. So I looked at that and said, oh my Lord.
I still don't know jack. I still don't know jack.
Yeah, he left. Anyway, the idea behind the little finger was because I knew that someday that would come in handy. Now, go forward 50 years later, I lost my third finger, the tip of it. So now, what comes in handy? Using that little finger. That's all I use now, because I've always trained it to use it. And now just, by happenstance, it comes in handy,
Which is amazing. It's amazing to adapt.
Using, like you said, with a C chord, it just facilitates movement to something else, using the little finger. Hold on.
Like if you go to D minor.
I'll call you right back, Dave.
Go to C to D.
Yep.
It's nice to have that. The finger's already there.
Sorry about that, folks. The cyber age. But anyway, as Otis grew older, like most students, they just fade away and leave, But one thing I noticed when he started doing gigs, it was real nice that his dad was always there. His dad was his greatest supporter, like Albert used to talk about his sister and his mom always being there, I went to see him play, and there's his dad, he's always there. And that just shows you what a bond and a relationship, good support has. His dad worshipped the little guy, I don't know why.
Well, just like you two.
Yeah.
But Troy never says I taught him anything, though.
I always say you taught me my bar chords, then you left me on my own after that. He said, figure out the rest.
I read in a book just the other day, a good horse, you can't have to tell him to trot. A good horse will trot on its own, so that's why I figured if you got it, in you, you'll do it. So
I had an acoustic guitar, my grandpa's acoustic, and the strings were that far off the first year, and I wanted electric. My dad said, well, if you play for a year, I'll buy you an electric. So I had to play for a year first on that acoustic.
Yeah, that's, you know, I'll take this opportunity to tell Ernie and that he was always a big influence on me, and you know, I probably owe him some money for all the gigs I've done, you know.
like
Dewey just said.
You know, but you know, Ernie has influenced countless people, and I remember. Here's another thing. I remember you used to play up at the bowling alley.
Yeah, Regal Links.
And with a group called the Disciples.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that because I always wanted to go see Ernie play, but you know, I'm 10 years old. But and on the weekends I would think, Ernie's up there playing, and I want to go see Ernie play. You know, and I never got that chance. You know, but
I got you a backstage pass. I would have
yeah.
said you did.
But I remember that vividly. It's that, you know, I want to be like Ernie.
Wow.
Playing wise, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll never achieve that. I'll never achieve the knowledge, the ability that Ernie has on the guitar. I'll never get there, but certainly that's something that I'll always strive for.
That's good.
You know, the thing I noticed about Otis too is the playing. You know, even today I could tell he's still progressive. You know, his tone is real nice, regardless of the effects. You know, I could tell by his fingers technique and things like that. He's come a long, long way. He's really, you know, he's a guitar player. And not only that, the biggest thing I noticed, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Troy a lot. You know, just one of those guys that's nice. You know, he come up a different generation than me. You know, because you know it was different when I was growing up. You know, but you know, as far as playing, like he says, he could never do what I did. It's not really true. It's all the time. I think the difference is just the dedication. You know, like basketball, Larry Bird, he didn't have the talent of some of the other guys, but he just did it more often, tried. And when I started off, I had the vision right off the bat. I don't want to just be a guitar picker. I want to be what they call a guitarist. I want to know what I was doing, you know, why I was doing it. And so it took a lot of time. I mean, you know, it wasn't just once a week and then not practice during the week. It was every day and every night. You know, I remember when I got out of high school, I'd start off at 9 in the morning. It wouldn't stop till 9 at night. You know, so my mom and dad could go to bed in their own room because that's where I used to practice. You know, that's what it took. And trying to read music, you know, because I figured I have to learn how to read music. So it was just a matter of dedication, and you know, really putting it all into it, and you know, you reap the rewards later. That's the thing about it, isn't it? Like he said, you know, other people have told me when I go out of town, hey, you know, I used to listen to your band, and you got me started playing guitar just from watching it, you know. And you know.
Yeah.
That I would always, any dance or anything, I'd always, whatever side Ernie was on, I'd go up and I'd sit there mesmerized. And I mean, that's it. I mean, even as a kid.
Before you were playing, huh?
Yeah. You're fascinated by individuals, and you become, you know, it's kind of the I want to be like Mike, you know.
Yeah.
But it's
I
wanted to be like Ernie.
Yeah.
You know, when you're out there playing, you're playing the music. You're not thinking about what somebody out there is thinking. You're just doing what you're hired to do, you know. And I didn't know that so many people were watching and told me, you know, not only in town here, but everywhere else I've played at. You know, there's always been some guy come up and say, you know, I started playing guitar because I watched you guys playing. So that's really a nice thing. You know.
Yeah, and think how many guys you've influenced now, Otis.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it, but they're out there.
And
Right, Dad? I remember that guy you worked with. He was saying Otis was his favorite guitar player.
That's when I asked him if he knows who his teacher was.
Yeah. Oh, because he didn't know you played. I remember that. He said, "Can you play?" You said, "Go ask Mike."
Don't ask your favorite guitar player.
that's funny. That's funny. Oh my gosh.
Well, thanks for sharing that memory with us, Otis.
That's, you know, I'm a lucky man today to be standing in good company.
Thanks.